What's going on, guys? Nathan here. Today I'm gonna give you 9 easy ways to win at poker without cheating. These are some of the top strategies that I have used throughout my entire professional poker career, and I think they will help you out at the poker table as well. So if you're ready, let's jump right into it. You're gonna learn a lot in today's video, even if you're a complete beginner. Counting down from 9 to 1, here we go. So number 9, guys, is don't check raise with top pair. Guys, this is one of the biggest blunders that I still see a lot of amateurs in particular making at the poker table. And there will also be multiple examples, by the way, throughout this video showing you exactly how to implement these strategies. So guys, winning poker players, they know that check raising top pair is a losing play. And let's jump into the first example right now. So you raise it up with ace of hearts, 10 of hearts, one of the hands that I would highly suggest playing. And the flop comes down with the 10 of spades, 9 of clubs, and 8 of diamonds. Guys, this is an excellent spot. We have hit top pair with top kicker. However, it is very important that you learn how to read board textures correctly in poker in order to have a lot of success. Guys, this is a highly coordinated board, meaning that there are multiple different straight draws, for example, 2 pair possibilities, and so on. For example, if they have a hand like Jack Queen, that hand has flopped the straight on this board, and we are in very, very poor shape against that hand. Also, hands like 10-9, for example, are hands that people play very commonly, and therefore that is a 2 pair possibility on this board. So guys, the reason you do not want to check raise, and that would mean checking, and then when they bet, you spring the trap and make a raise, is because you are overplaying the strength of your hand. We have a good but not unbeatable hand, and therefore it is much better to simply lead in this situation, meaning to make a bet, or to just check call. We don't want to try to inflate the pot as much as possible right now versus any kind of decent, competent player, because they're only going to give us action when they have one of those better hands like a Jack Queen, for example, or a pocket 9s or a 10-9. Bottom line, guys, it is very important for your poker success that you learn how to read board textures properly. Yes, we have top pair, top kicker on this board, but it does not mean this is the time to go all in, party time, shove all the chips in the middle. That's what amateurs do. You know better. That's why you clicked on a video like this. We want to be pot controlling in this situation instead, and you do that by leading or check calling here. All right, guys, moving on to tip number 8, and that is to re-raise more pre-flop before the flop. So guys, you want to 3-bet, which also means re-raising with all of your strong hands before the flop. So for example, pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, or ace king. These are what I call premium hands. These are the strongest hands in the game, and you do not want to be slow playing these hands, guys, by just calling. I know it is tempting to get tricky. You might have seen one of your favorite high stakes poker player do that in a $1 million cash game or tournament, but they're playing in $1 million games, and that strategy is often not going to be effective in your $100 game at the local casino or the Friday night home game with your half drunken buddies. And that is why often in poker, as I always say in these videos, ironically, you just want to do the most obvious thing and let them overthink the situation, because people are always overthinking things in poker. So one of my favorite plays and most profitable plays at the tables over the years is when I have a hand like pocket aces, I just do the most obvious thing possible. I re-raise them and I let them think I'm bluffing. Amazingly, this play still works like a charm these days. Now, I also want to point out that you do want to 3-bet light from time to time, and the light literally means you're doing it with speculative hands like a 9-8 of hearts, for example, and this is just to balance your range in this situation. If you're only always re-raising them with hands like pocket aces and pocket kings, you're gonna get pretty easy for them to read. So you also want to re-raise them sometimes before the flop with some of these speculative hands, and I love doing it with suited connectors like a 9-8 of hearts. And specifically, by the way, I like to target the weaker regs, and if you're using a HUD playing online poker, you just want to look for players who are folding to 3-bet 70% or more. And by the way, you can get these numbers on your screen if you're using a HUD. I will link up the HUD that I use in the description below. Let's move on to tip number 7, and that is to don't limp. Guys, when you limp pre-flop, which is the act of just calling the blind, you are literally announcing your weakness to the entire table. You are announcing from the top of the mountains, hey guys, I have a weak hand. I'm not very confident in myself. You can push me around. You can take control of the hand. I'll just fold later on. Guys, this is not how winning poker players think in today's modern games. You want to raise instead. Take control of the pot and let the the table know that you mean business. Put everyone on notice that they are going to be a guest in your pot. So let me give you an example. Once again, you've got ace, queen offsuit, ace of hearts, queen of spades in a $1, $2 cash game. You should raise it up to $6 as a minimum in this game. And if you're getting way too many colors, try $8, try $10. Guys, bottom line, aggressive poker is winning poker. Always take control of the pot when you are the first person in the pot pre-flop, and you're going to have a lot more success. Alright guys, tip number 6 is to avoid playing out of position. Guys, what you need to know is that not all seats at the poker table were created equal, not even close. The button and the cutoff, as you can see on your screen there, are the two winningest seats at the poker table, and that is because you get to act last on the flop, turn, and river, the post-flop streets. You get to see what they do first, and this is a massively proven statistical advantage in poker because you get to see what they do, meaning that you can raise them, you can just call, or you can even fold your hand and save yourself money if they make a bet and you think you're beat. Guys, information is power in poker. There is absolutely no greater advantage in this game than getting to see what they do first. So you want to massively skew the hands that you play towards specifically the cutoff and the button where you're going to get to act last on the flop, turn, and river, and try to limit the amount of hands that you play in early position and middle position, EPMP, or from the blinds, the small blind and the big blind. By the way, if you want to know exactly what hands I recommend playing in all situations, there are charts and diagrams showing you exactly what hands to play in my free poker cheat sheet, which I'll link up in the description below. Alright guys, let's move on to tip number 5, and that is to don't fold versus aggressive players. This is one of the biggest trouble spots that my students in particular have, is they get gun shy around aggressive players. You know, those players who are always trying to bet and bluff you and all this. You can never put them on a hand. Guys, there's a lot of players like this in today's games. This is the style of play that I play and teach because I feel that it is a highly effective strategy against a lot of the weaker players, specifically in today's games. So guys, the bottom line is you have to make some big calls against these players. And I made an entire video, by the way, last week just talking about this. So let me give you an example. Once again, you've got two red eights, the 8 of hearts and 8 of diamonds versus a loose and aggressive player, and they fire the double barrel on the turn of king 7 6 3 rainbow, meaning that there is no possible flush draw on this board. So guys, in a situation like this, I am routinely going to be flat calling here. I do not think there's any point in raising here. I don't need to turn my hand into a bluff, because if they happen to have a hand like ace king or king queen, which they're representing, I'm simply digging my own grave by raising them here. However, I don't want to fold my hand either because I want to keep all of their bluffs in, all of their hands, like a 7-5, for example, or a pocket fours, or an ace deuce that are simply bluffing at this pot. So guys, the bottom line is the strategy to beat highly aggressive poker players is to give them the rope, let them keep bluffing at it. There's often no point in raising them. You have to make some loose calls versus these players. And yes, sometimes you're going to have egg all over your face. Sometimes they're going to show up at the king queen here. But the only way to consistently beat players like this is to force them to have a hand by making calls in situations like this, whereas versus a tighter player, I often will make the fold here. All right, guys, let's move on to tip number 4, which is to always raise the limpers. So guys, when somebody limps pre-flop, remember we already talked about how you never want to do that. That's just calling the blind pre-flop. You should literally view this as free money. I raise them up with literally any playable hand in this situation because I literally look at this as somebody has dropped some money on the street and it's just there for me to pick up now and put in my pocket. So for example, you've got ace 4 of spades in a $1, $2 cash game on the button, and somebody has just limped, so they've just called the $2 blind. Guys, I'm going to raise it up to roughly $8 here every single time because once again, you absolutely want to punish the limpers, especially when you're on the button here, the best seat ever created at the poker table. All right, guys, let's move on to tip number 3, and that is to always target the fish. Guys, I am not the most politically correct poker player. I play this game for a living. I play this game to make money. I'm not in this to flex my ego. I'm not here to make friends. I simply play poker to get everyone's chips. And who is the easiest to get their chips? It's the fish, of course. It's the recreational players who play way too many hands, who call you down with any bottom pair, any ace high, anything at all, chase any draw, go on tilt, get all emotional when they lose a couple hands in a row, on and on, guys. These are the weekend warriors. These are the amateur players who just play the game for fun. These are the players we make the money against in poker, guys, and you want to get involved in pots with them as often as possible, and you always want to have one of these players at your table. So for example, I put my online poker table up on the screen there for you. The player in blue is playing a crazy 55% of their hands. These are my HUD stats, by the way, and once again, I'll put the HUD that I use in the description below. But bottom line, guys, I am always having a player like this at my table. This is how I've made a career out of this game, is by consistently fleecing the bad players like this. Once again, guys, if making money in this game is your goal, this is exactly how you do it. I could drop the mic right now in the video, but we still got 2 more tips to go. So number 2 is don't get too many callers. So guys, we already talked about raising it up pre-flop every single time, especially when you're first into the pot. And now let's talk about how much to make it. Well, a lot of people will complain to me. They'll say, Nathan, every time I raise it up pre-flop, I get 5 callers, 4 callers, the whole table calls me. And as you can see by the data on your screen there, pocket aces can literally be a statistical underdog if you get 3 different callers. So what is the solution here, guys? Well, the solution is simple. You just raise it more. So if you're playing in a $1, $2 cash game, you raise it to $6, 3 times the blind, and 4 people are calling you, 3 people are calling you, try making it $8, try making it $10, try making it $15. You need to find the sweet spot, guys, in the game that you play in that is ideally going to get you 1 caller. It's okay if everyone folds. It is not a crime. A lot of people are very afraid that if they've got pocket aces and everyone folds, guys, don't worry about that. You want to put people to a decision pre-flop. You don't want to give people an easy, oh, I'll just call, I'll just call. If that's the decision that you're giving them, that people are just calling you at will, you're not making it enough. So guys, find the amount that works in your game to get you 1 caller ideally, and that's the correct amount. All right, guys, my number 1 easy poker tip to get you quickly winning is to don't miss thin value. So guys, pot sizes on the river are on average the largest. This is the final card, of course, so that makes perfect sense. So guys, you must learn to make them pay every single time. Let me give you an example. Once again, you've got ace, jack, ace of spades, and jack of diamonds. On the river, the board is reading the king, jack, 7, 4, 3 with 3 diamonds. Guys, in a spot like this, you absolutely need to be value betting. Yes, while it is possible that they could have a flush or they could have a king, there are so many worse hands that they will call you with. For example, a hand like queen jack or jack 10 or pocket 10s or ace 7. There are so many different hands like this, guys, that if you make a bet here, they're going to call you. It is absolutely imperative that you get the maximum value out of your opponents when you have a strong hand here, especially when it's only middle pair, like in this example here, and that's why we call this thin value, by the way. This right here is the difference between the biggest winners in the game of poker and everyone else, is being able to get those small edges out of them, get those extra couple big blinds on the river out of them when you know they have a second best hand. Guys, do not sleep on spots like this on the river, because this in a nutshell, guys, is how elite poker players and professionals get ahead in this game. All right, guys, like and subscribe if you found this one helpful, and if you want to know my entire strategy to beat the small and mid stakes games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. All the best at the poker tables, unless you're on mine.